Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Dark Magician Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for November 2024. Wanted to update the Dark Magician deck. This was actually a fan request to just get an updated version for post the last ban list that we had for the overall changes to some of the extra deck cards, main deck cards, you name it, a wide variety that just works with updating the cards for the Dark Magician deck in terms of numbers for some of the other cards we also run, and just with the ease of availability to get cards like Magician's Soul and Illusion of Chaos since the last update to the deck as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, we'll begin with the actual Dark Magician monsters. We run one copy of Dark Magician Girl and two copies of Dark Magician. You have plenty of search power in the deck to actually make use of the Dark Magician cards. So just one Dark Magician Girl and two Dark Magician is fine just for those numbers. Once again, being able to use them either as fusion resources or Xyz resources with all the special summon capabilities we have in the deck. The numbers are fine for our boss monster and his student as well. We're running two copies of Illusion of Chaos. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos form. You can reveal this card in your hand. Add one Dark Magician or one non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Then place one card from your hand on the top of your deck. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you return this card to the hand. If you do, special summon one Dark Magician from your graveyard, and if you do, negate that activate effect. So the main play with Illusion of Chaos is just to have sort of a search and reveal type of card in your hand to add any of the other cards that have Dark Magician or the non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. And we run Preparation of Rites in the deck so we can search out this ritual spell, ritual monster, and not have to run multiples of this card, because if you have multiples in your hand, unless it's one of the cards you put back, you really don't have much else to do for the card that you use for this setup. Then just use it for that search engine. One of the better setup cards that we run in the deck is Magician's Soul, which we also run 3 copies of. You can send up to 2 spell traps from your hand and or field of the graveyard to draw that many cards. If this card's in your hand, you can send one level 6 or higher spellcaster from your deck to the graveyard to activate one of these effects, special summon this card, or send this card to the graveyard to special summon one Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard, giving you once again more resources. Being able to set up to 2 spell traps can also just give you more draw power into some of the needed cards. So Magician's Soul is definitely one of the better setup cards to use in the deck for just setting up your monsters in the graveyard and giving you more of a draw power engine and just an additional resource on the field also. Our normal summon target for the deck is Magician's Rod, which we run 3 copies of. When it's normal summon, you can add one spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Dark Magician and its text. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap card while this card's in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you contribute a spellcaster type monster to add this card to your hand, giving you more of a recycle power. But as I said, this is one of your go-to normal summons in the deck, because then you'll have your search for the variety of Dark Magician spell or traps, the go-to most of the time being our Dark Magical Circle, which we can then activate as well, and then check top 3 to add a Dark Magician or spell trap that mentions it off of that card also. For some of the one-ofs we run in the deck, we run the 1 copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician, more of a special summon option by discarding a card and then being able to add Dark Magician from a deck to your hand, and also being able to tribute it for an attack gain for another monster we control. The 1 Magician of Dark Illusions, just when a spell or trap is activated, being able to special summon this card on the field and then grab another Dark Magician resource as well, being another level 7. It helps with our Xyz plays also. The 1 copy of Timaeus, the United Dragon. You can send one spellcaster monster or one spell trap that mentions Dark Magician from your hand or face on the field of the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And during the main phase, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a spellcaster monster. So kind of like a monster version of the Eye of Timaeus, but you have to have the actual resources to be able to summon them out, with the last of our cards being the 1 copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon, because we do run Red Eyes Fusion as one of the fusion options to be able to summon out our Red Eyes Dark Dragoon to the field as well using Red Eyes and Dark Magician, with the last of the main deck monsters being 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We run a small hand trap lineup, so Ash Blossom and Infinite Impermanence being the main focus for those cards for the hand trap lineup. For the spells, our best spell in the deck, Dark Magician wise, is Soul Servant. Place 1 card on the top of the deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is Dark Magician or specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl and its text, except for Soul Servant. And during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to draw cards equal to the number of Palladium monsters, Dark Magician, and or Dark Magician Girl with different names on the field and in the graveyard. So this is one of the more ideal cards to also be able to send off of Magician's Soul, because then we have the graveyard draw option with this card as well. So this is the main play that you want to go for that setup for your Soul Servant, as just a discard cost and then being able to use it for the banish play. We run 2 copies of Dark Magical Circle. We're running the 2 because we have a way to search it, so much easier just to search this card off of a guarantee, because then its own search effect is not consistent. You may reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and very slight chance, but may have a card that you couldn't add off of this card, but it'll stay on the field as a way to banish your opponent cards every time you summon out a Dark Magician. And for some of the other fusion options in the deck, running the 1 copy of the Eye of Timaeus. Now, this card can help to get around some of the fusion restrictions we have in the X deck, like Dark Cavalry needing a warrior monster. We don't run a warrior monster in the deck, so Eye of Timaeus can just summon out a Dark Magician monster by fusion summoning from the X deck that monster that mentions it as material. So this can help to get around some of the fusion cards we need for it. Also, the 1 copy of Magicalized Fusion for the added setup of fusion summon, especially with the banish option that this card can use for summoning out those monsters, so we can get out even some of our bigger monsters like Quintet Magician once we have all the magicians set up in the graveyard to do so. The 1 copy of the Red Eyes Fusion to get out Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. There are other ways to get out Dragoon as well, because we have a way with a Dragon Effect monster, so Timaeus the United Dragon could also summon out Dragoon, but then you just have the send option with Red Eyes Fusion. And lastly, the Secrets of Dark Magic. As I said, we have 4 different spells, 4 fusion plays in the deck, and you also have a ritual option with Secrets of Dark Magic if you really wanted to go for the monster effect option on the field using Illusion of Chaos. For some of the other spells in the deck, we run the 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. As I said before, this is just a way to search out our Illusion of Chaos, because once we search this card out, then we just have more of a guarantee reveal and search for a specific Dark Magician card we need, but still just a way to thin out the deck with this spell also, especially since it's not a once per turn. The 1 copy of Magician's Salvation. When it's activated, you can set an Eternal Soul directly from your deck. If you normal or special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters and special summon 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard with a different name than that monster. So just a way to grab one or the other onto the field, and being able to set up one of our better traps as well. So you can even potentially search this card off of Magician's Rod and then use this card when it's activated to set our go-to special summon trap, which is our Eternal Soul. The 1 copy of Call by the Grave, along with the 1 copy of Thousand Knives and the 1 copy of Dark Magic Attack to finish off the spell lineup as well, especially with the 1-ofs for Thousand Knives and Dark Magic Attack, because we can use them as search options with Eternal Soul also. Speaking of Eternal Soul, running the 2 copies of this trap as well. Every Dark Magician in your monster zone is not affected by your opponent's card effects. If this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use each of the following effects of Eternal Soul once per turn, and you can only activate 1. You can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard, just grabbing you that resource back onto the field. And if you have Dark Magical Circle, that could be a banish of your opponent's cards as well, or adding 1 Dark Magic Attack or Thousand Knives, which have the monster and spell and trap destruction, which you can use against your opponent using your Dark Magician monster also. With the last of the traps being 1 copy of Magician's Combination. Once per turn when a card effect is activated, except during the damage step, you contribute a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl monster to special summon 1 Dark Magician Girl or 1 Dark Magician from your graveyard or hand with a different name from the tributed monster. And if you do, negate the activated effect. So just a more negation effect ability of your opponent's cards, along with the Dragoon option we have in the deck to use. With lastly, for the traps, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, along with the Ash Blossom. Like I said, just a small hand trap lineup to use to either stop our opponent's monster effects on the field, or with the Ash Blossom case, any of their searches or setups for the graveyard they may try to do as well. For the extra deck, for our fusions, we run the 1 copy of Dark Cavalry. Once again, this was the warrior option, but we have the Eye of Timaeus in the deck to be able to summon this card out. The Dark Magicians, since we have plenty of ways to summon out Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, this is just another powerful fusion to be able to summon out, most of the time with our go-to quick play spell being the Secrets of Dark Magic, the 1 Quintet Magician, which Magicalized Fusion can summon quite easily as well, needing 5 spellcasters. And then if this card is Fusion Summon, using 5 spellcasters with different names, you can destroy all cards your opponent control. Being a 4,500 attack point monster, it's all the more powerful to then be able to hit into your opponent with. The 1 copy of Master of Chaos, using our Illusion of Chaos for the added fusion play of this card. And lastly, the 1 Red Eyes Dark Dragoon for the Red Eyes Fusion, or once again, Timaeus United Dragon to be able to summon out also. With our Xyz monsters, 1 copy of Ebon Illusion Magician and 1 Ebon High Magician, along with the 1 number 11 Big Eye, the 1 Zeus, and the 1 Sky Crisis for the Xyz lineup. And for the Link monsters, 1 copy of Relinquish Anima, 1 SP Little Knight, the 1 Dynamondo. I really like this card. It has you, or it gives you an option with your Ritual monster if you do, let's say, use it for the fusion play or summon it onto the field. If you end up sending it to the graveyard, you have a shuffle back option in the form of that Ritual monster in the graveyard as well. The 1 Dark the Dark Charmer and the 1 Nightmare Unicorn to finish off the extra deck. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, easy setup with the deck is obviously the Magician's Rod combo, being able to search out the specific spell when it's summoned to add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Dark Magician in its text. So then with this card, you could potentially add Magician's Salvation, activating this, and then from there adding your Eternal Soul, having a search, search, and search with all of these cards on the field, because then you have the activation of this card, which gives you a special summon of a Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard as just an additional resource as well. But also, if you don't have that search, you at least have an add of some of the other one-ofs from our deck to our hand that can be used to grab those cards as well. The setup that I mentioned before as well with the Magician's Soul and Soul Servant definitely does come in handy, because then you can use these cards for sending up to 2 spell traps from your hand and or field to the graveyard. So if need be, you could also use the Dark Magical Circles on the field, as this card could exist on the field from, let's say, the Magician's Rod search, and then use the Magician's Soul to send this and the additional Soul Servant card from our hand to the graveyard to summon out this card as well for the setup, being able to send those 2 cards. But before you do that, you also want to send the specific card to the graveyard. So you could send the Dark Magician off of your Magician's Soul and then summon out this card onto the field with this play, being able to have that send from the deck to the graveyard, summoning out this card to the field, and then being able to use the same spell and trap send effect that we mentioned before. This will set up the Dark Magician, because then you haven't taken your normal summon yet. You could do the Magician's Rod play, grabbing the Magician's Salvation, and then setting the Eternal Soul, which gives you the Dark Magician in the graveyard to be able to summon back the following turn when you activate your Eternal Soul. And also, using the 2 monsters on your field, you have a Link 2 option and the additional Soul Servant play from the graveyard to draw cards equal to the number of Palladium, Dark Magician, and or Dark Magician girls with different names on the field, giving you 1 additional draw off of the 2 draw that you got from the Magician's Soul also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, I got a fan request to update this deck, so I hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.